I thought we were done. I thought the nightmare was over. I thought we could finally rest, knowing that the abomination that is HBO Max's Velma was over. But no. Just when you thought it was safe to dive back into the streaming waters, Velma releases a special Halloween episode. And since you all hate me, I know you're expecting me to talk about it, so this is me talking about Velma's Halloween special. This Halloween needs to be more special. You owe me for this one. So become a patron or channel member like these absolute heroes here. Check the video description below for more information. I hate you. I hate life. I hate this cursed show. Let's get this over with.
You stop that.
In the second season finale of Velma, Velma died. Yeah, she was killed by Scrappy Doo. Scrappy Doo killed Velma. That should have been the end of the show. I hate this series, but I would have applauded if that was the end of the show. Just the cojones it would have taken to do that. It would have been a great place to stop. Like a serial killer deciding that he found Jesus but didn't want to go to jail. Just stop. But no. We have to do it one more time. We have to do one more special. A special which was not special. A Halloween special, which not only makes me hate Velma more, it makes me want to hate Halloween as well, and I don't want to hate Halloween. I love Halloween. Velma, why are you making me hate Halloween? So, stuck between the realms of life and death, where everything is cold and probably smells like feet, Velma has only one chance to return to her corporeal body and the land of the living, but before she can do that, she's got to get her hands on this evil spell book that's being kept at a museum. But before she can get her hands on that book, they run into a ghost called the Black Knight, not that one, who is killing people who dress too sexy for Halloween. Because this is a show called Velma, and that's the level that we're at. That's just what happens on this show. For reasons. This, of course, this murderous ghost is very inconvenient because there's a super sexy Halloween party happening at the graveyard, because of course there is, and if Velma and her gang of Scooby-Doo imposters don't do something quick, the Black Knight will obviously slaughter everyone there, which, you know, just let him. As a treat. Oh, and did I mention that to bring Velma back, each member of the fake Scooby-Doo gang has to confront their biggest fear? What are their biggest fears? I don't know. Characterization? Respect for the source material? Good writing? Jokes that are funny? As I said in my review of the second season, to be honest, the rage at what Velma has done to my beloved cadre of mystery-solving teenage sleuths has largely faded, so whenever I speak about Velma, I'm not really speaking out of anger or fanboy indignation. I'm speaking from a place of someone who just likes cartoons. Yes, I'm an old man, and I love cartoons. I know that's probably put me on numerous government watch lists somewhere, and there are some people who think I shouldn't be allowed within 1,000 feet of a school, but I would rather watch a cartoon than anything else, and you know I love Scooby-Doo. I've loved Scooby-Doo since I was a Scooby boy. But I can differentiate Velma from Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo brought me much joy in my life, and this show, it sparks no joy. It is joy bereft. It is the opposite of joy. This show is an uneven mishmash of meta-commentary and adult jokes that never really hit. They don't hit the mark, they don't hit here, they don't hit here. They just miss. They miss like a stormtrooper shooting at anything. Looking back at this episode, for example, I don't remember laughing once. Not a single time. And y'all, I laugh at some stupid stuff. I don't even think I cracked the smallest smile. So, as a comedy, Velma is a failure. As a reboot, it's a failure. But strangely enough, I actually think this Halloween episode is the best episode that Velma has ever done. Yeah, I don't mean that it's great, but I think that this is really the first time that this series has ever tapped into any potential within itself, not just the idea of an adult-centered Scooby-Doo series, because I do think that there's potential in that, and I always have, but I mean the potential within itself to be good. Obviously, Velma has never done this correctly, but the potential is still there. The Halloween episode marks the first time that Velma has ever come close to reaching the potential within itself. And given that this show is finally and mercifully canceled, I can't really look at this cancelization with a gigantic smile. I don't even know what a cancelization is, but I can't look at it with a gigantic smile. I look at it with a twinge of sadness because I feel like this episode, this series, was almost at a revelation, at a turning point. It was almost at a place where it could have become more than the steaming pile that it is. If Velma had gotten a third season, and that third season was actually quality of some level, I do think that the Halloween episode would have marked the time that the series grew the beard. Am I being stupidly optimistic? Yeah, but at least I'm optimistic. So I know what you're asking. What did this episode do right that the entire series hasn't gotten right in 2 years? Simple. It told an entire story in one episode. That's it. No ongoing arcs, no lingering jokes, no episode ending in a cliffhanger, at least not a major cliffhanger. There was a cliffhanger, but show's canceled, so who cares? It told a story from beginning to middle to end, and it stopped. And that was great. That's it. An episodic installment of a series about a group of teenage mystery solvers. They solve a mystery in one episode. It was quite astounding how much more tolerable that one thing made this episode. Now, again, I haven't had a stroke that I'm aware of, and I'm still not praising the series by any means, because it's still one of the worst things in the history of anything ever. And yes, I am counting smallpox and the burning of the Alexandria Library. As a matter of fact, I think that Velma would go somewhere between the emergence of bird flu and the day the music died. This show is still awful. The Halloween episode was awful. But it's awful now with the potential of not being awful, or at least slightly less awful. Sue me. Unlike this series, I don't want to be negative all the time. And every now and again, I want to say something positive. And you know what? If that triggers you, you're the problem, not me. So this episode itself, yeah, it has potential, but it's garbage. It's just garbage. Like the previous 2 seasons, it's just a mound of trash, but a mound of trash with potential. Velma has always been a deeply flawed addition to the Scoobyverse, a term that I just made up and I just patented, so every time you use it, you have to owe me $1. Velma has, from the very moment that it premiered, completely and utterly misunderstood to a fascinating degree what made Scooby-Doo work in the first place. It didn't matter if it was Scooby-Doo or the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries or Scooby-Doo and Scrappy 2 or Scooby-Doo and the 13 Ghosts. Scooby-Doo was always just about kids solving a fun mystery. They weren't jaded, they weren't cynical, and they certainly weren't mean to each other. They were just friends, and they solved mysteries. It's a simple premise that didn't need to be modernized or complicated. We didn't need love triangles. We didn't need unrequited relationships. We didn't need relationships. We did that in fanfic. Velma, to me, didn't feel like a Scooby-Doo series. It didn't even feel like a parody of a Scooby-Doo series. It felt like it was a series written to make fun of people who love Scooby-Doo. I almost had a feeling that this series was born of hatred for the fans of Scooby-Doo rather than a love for them. If I'm wrong, I can chalk it up to just an incredible miscalculation on the producers and writers' parts. But even with a series this incompetent. I don't see how anyone could make that big of an error. And to be honest, I kind of took it personally. I kind of saw this series as an insult, and I don't usually look at cartoons or movies or series as, oh my God, that insulted me. But this time I did. I honestly felt like this series was thrown at me and Mindy Kaling was going, I made Velma mean. And if there's anything that killed this show more than the bad reviews, the dwindling audience, and David Zaslav just being David Zaslavy, it would be that Velma is just cynical. It is a cynical, sad sack piece of feces that revels in its own unearned snarkiness, with all of the bravado of a beautiful but brainless cheerleader having the gall to tell a smart student that they're stupid because they actually know the answers to a quiz that the cheerleader flunked. Velma is mean-spirited, and if there's anything that Scooby-Doo has not been ever in the history of anything ever, it's mean-spirited. Take a look at the live-action movies. Take a look at the absolute worst made-for-DVD movies that Scooby-Doo has ever been involved in, and you will not find a whole lot of negativity in them. Even movies that attempt to soak some kind of discord in the gang, like Scooby-Doo and the 13th Ghost, never resorts to having the characters loathe each other like they seem to do on this series. This cynicism cuts through everything on the show. It not only kills the humor, but also destroys any kind of emotional moments that this show tries to have. And yes, this show does try to have emotional moments. Even in this Halloween episode, it tries to get deep, it tries to get emotional, and it completely fails. Embarrassingly, because it can't stop being mean. Mindy Kaling, I'm going to be honest, and I'm probably going to be, I don't know, shout it out at the comments or whatever. You think I'm being mean, drop a comment, haha, engagement. Mindy Kaling strikes me as somebody who's just mean in real life. She does. She strikes me as somebody who's just mean and who thinks that characters who talk this way to each other is normal. I could be wrong. She could be a very nice person. I've never met her before. And after saying this on YouTube, I don't think I ever will be given that opportunity. But this is just not how people talk to each other. I know this is fiction. I know this is a cartoon. I know this is a comedy. But even in the Scooby-Doo of 50 years ago, I find the dialogue there more realistic than the dialogue in Velma. Take, for example, the fact that Velma is literally dead and a ghost in this entire episode. You would think that this would be something that a more capable set of writers would use to make Velma a more sympathetic character or grow those character bonds. I mean, for goodness sakes, Velma's mother and father are there looking at their daughter's dead body and seeing her ghost hanging in the air, and you would think that they were setting at a tax audit. But no, Velma and the gang treat this death as an inconvenience, like an allergic outbreak or hives. It's like stakes are nothing here. And when the writers want to convince the audience that the characters do care about what's going on, they can't stop being cynical for 5 seconds to let actual emotion come through. I never felt sorry for Velma. I never felt sorry for Daphne, who is in a romantic relationship with Velma. These characters are so self-absorbed, I don't even know. I don't think I possess the knowledge how to relate to any of them as characters. I am going to defend this show, however. I have seen a few people take umbrage with the fact that ghosts are a real thing in the Velma TV series, saying, well, ghosts don't exist in Scooby-Doo. It's always some guy in a mask. No, wrong. Wrong-o. Have you not seen the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo? Have you not seen Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island? Have you not seen the live action series? If you're going to criticize this series for being bad, criticize it for being bad, but don't come at it with incorrect information. Ghosts are real in the Scooby-Doo universe. They can be real in Velma. To be honest, I don't care. I never have to watch this series again. However, if you're gonna have ghosts in this Velma TV show, can we at least make them scary? Last season on Velma, there was some absolutely outstanding examples of horror animation. And in Shaggy and Velma's hallucinations, this time around, it's just some guy in a Black Knight outfit and some red junk floating around him. It's not scary. It doesn't even attempt to be scary. There were scarier monsters on the old 60s show. The Knight is just literally there. I mean, there are other story revelations about him that actually nerf his character even more. I'm not going to give them away in case you actually care about spoilers to Velma. Who are you, by the way? I just felt like this would have been a perfect time to lean into the horror element of Scooby-Doo adjacent shows, and Velma doesn't even bother. It's a Halloween episode. Can we please get a little scary? I honestly don't think they cared to even go that route. They probably didn't even think about going that route. As I said, I don't think they care about Scooby-Doo at all. I think the writers of this series actively hate the Scooby-Doo universe, and that this show was written like the anti-Scooby-Doo. You know, anti-fun, anti-funny, anti-good. Wow, they sure showed us. I mean, come on, every single character on the show came pre-flanderized. It is impossible to care even the slightest about a group this shallow. Did I mention that Saweetie appears in this special? Because Saweetie appears in this special. Now, Scooby-Doo has a long and storied history of having celebrity cameos, so I don't mind that. But upon seeing Saweetie was part of this episode, my first question was, who the heck is Saweetie? Have I really gotten that old? Even having an apparently famous celebrity in this episode really came off more as weird than funny or ironic. I know I'm behind the times and I don't know who this person is, and I got nothing against her, other than the fact that she chose to appear in an episode of Velma, which honestly, she should have known better. Even if she hadn't seen the series, she should have just looked at that script they put in front of her and just went, oh, hell no. But if there's one thing that Velma does particularly bad, it's meta commentary. I've never seen a series so bad at meta commentary be so enthusiastic about making meta commentary just to be bad at it. This series has never once approached any level of insightfulness, not in its critique of feminism, or the patriarchy, or sexual norms, or relationships, or television, or streaming models. Nothing that it comments on, nothing that the series brings up, has ever been discussed or lampooned in a meaningful or intelligent way. Everything that Velma discusses is simply mentioned as if to say, oh, hey, that's a thing that exists. And then they just brush it to the side so that they can be mean about something else. I will say the animation on the series looks lovely, and the voice acting, for the most part, is pretty good. I can never get over what they've done to Fred, though. Their character assassination of Fred Jones is a slight against us all and an insult that will never be rectified. What a horrible interpretation. I demand payment by blood. Or at least an apology. Written or, YouTube apology. That way we can make fun of your YouTube apology for being insincere. Since Velma is now officially canceled, this is the last thing I'm ever going to say about this series, and that brings me joy. Velma could have had potential. It could have been good. But instead, to me, this series represented a group of snarky writers and producers throwing nothing but utter disdain and condemnation to fans of Scooby-Doo. They seemed to delight in the fact that the series was not going to include the title character of Scooby-Doo. They delighted in the fact that the series was going to be mean and snarky, and they delighted in the fact that fans didn't like it, saying, well, you just don't get what we're doing here. No, we got it. You wanted to stick your thumb into the pop culture pie, as all bad chefs do. We just didn't like the way that the pie tasted after you had your nasty thumb in there. Where have you been putting this thing? And it's sad. Because, like I said, I think that the potential for an adult-oriented Scooby-Doo series is there, but thanks to Velma, I will probably never see that in my entire lifetime. I think Velma has poisoned the well, and it will be decades before Warner Brothers tries to experiment like this again. And to be honest, that makes me sad. I would have liked to have seen this series grow up with me. I would have liked to have seen the series follow me into my twilight years, maturing along with me, but unless they do some kind of weird Riverdale live action thing, I will probably never see that. I don't know if I want to see that. There's always some character with, amazing abs on shows like that. Who would have the abs? Would it be Fred or would it be Shaggy? It'd probably be Scooby. Yeah, they'd give Scooby abs. And they'd have Scooby date Velma. Not in fanfic, but in continuity. That would be the entire story arc for the entire first season of the show that I just invented in my head called Coolsville. Not Crystal Cove. I don't know where Crystal Cove is, and I don't ever want to hear the name Crystal Cove again. Scooby and the gang live in Coolsville, and they have always lived in Coolsville, and that is where Velma and Scooby will date in a love affair where they say yes when the entire world says no. Actually, they wouldn't say yes. They would say, yeah! Rest in peace, Velma. You were simply awful. Do you want to know what isn't awful or mean or snarky and only a little bit cynical? Becoming a Patreon of this channel or becoming a channel member for only $5 a month or more, you can support me and this channel and all of the programming that I struggle to bring you week after week and that you're completely ungrateful for. Shows like Jason Watches, Saturday and His Amazing Friends, Will It Tumble, The VHS Vault, The Power of J Skull, Double XL Men, Jalapena, and Breaking Wind, plus I promise that mystery project that I'm super duper duper excited about, and I promise, it is coming sooner or later. Maybe later, I don't know, hopefully not too much later. If you want it quick, support us on Patreon, become a channel member, and it'll get here a lot faster. Give me that motivation, baby, give me that motivation. Come on, gang, we got a channel to support. And that's it for Velma. You know, I'm kind of sad. Not because I'm gonna miss this show, but because these Velma reviews are some of my most popular videos, and now that Velma's gone, I'm gonna have to find a new show to hate watch. What could that be? Drop a comment below. Let me know what I should hate watch. Make it painful. I like pain.